Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Thank you for joining our live webinar, Discover What's New in the February release of the SOLIDWORKS roles. My name is Mariana Saint Germain. I'm on the SOLIDWORKS go-to-market team, and I will be your host. Today, we will review what's new in the SOLIDWORKS roles in the 3D Experience Works portfolio with the R2024x FD01 release that comes out on February 10. We will end with a Q&A session, so feel free to add your questions directly to the Q&A tool at any time during this presentation. Here's the list of the SOLIDWORKS roles we'll go over. And before you ask, yes, we are recording this session, and the recording will be available for your future reference. Customers can find out more about the release of the 3D of our SOLIDWORKS roles on the 3D Experience Platform's user community, and our partners can find this information on the Partners Home community. You may learn more about roles by exploring the wide selection of learning paths, modules, and certifications available on demand at eduspace.3ds.com. And now, join me in welcoming our speakers from the SOLIDWORKS portfolio management teams. Without further ado, let's begin with the SOLIDWORKS browser-based roles. Dan will kick us off. Dan?
Great. Okay, thank you. So I'm going to go through the enhancements that we have in 3D Creator and XDesign, which is a browser-based role for parametric part and assembly design. So we can go into the first slide. A lot of great enhancements here in FD01. First of all, we're introducing a concept that we call design in context of experience. And basically, this is a new command from the action bar that's going to allow you to insert an environment into your design space. And we have a variety of different environments, as you can see in the screenshot, a gym, a hospital room, multiple different types of kitchens, bathroom, that kind of thing. Common areas where you might design a product to be located. And inserting an environment has two main benefits. First of all, you can accurately design a product to scale right away, just based off of the surrounding geometry. And then also, it's a great help to be able to visualize your product in context of the environment where it's going to be used most often. So a really great enhancement there. We can go on to the next one. Okay, this is here by popular demand, command search. It's very popular in SOLIDWORKS Desktop, so we brought it to the X apps. And just like with many of these enhancements that I'm describing, this one is present in all of the design and 2D authoring X apps. So you can easily search for commands from the S shortcut key. You can access through the / keyboard shortcut, or there's also a command from the action bar. You can search by command names if you know them, by common synonyms from other CAD systems, or by any keywords that might have appeared in the tooltip for the relevant command. So it's really easy to find the command that you're looking for. A great enhancement for new users as well, and for power users alike. And we can go on to the next one. Okay, streamlined sharing options. So previously we had multiple different ways to share. It's a 3D experience platform. You're going to be able to share with stakeholders, internal and external. What we've done in this release is that we've consolidated all of your sharing options into a single dialog, which is now accessible through the Tools tab on the action bar. So you can easily find all your sharing options from one command. Also, we've integrated sharing externally through 3D Drive directly into this share dialog. So if you need to share with external stakeholders, you can easily do that, upload to 3D Drive, generate an external sharing link, and send that to individual people directly through XDesign. So powerful enhancement. And next. Okay, this enhancement goes hand in hand with the design context of experience enhancement that I talked about first, immersion in design environments. So basically, we're going to select a couple of ideal settings and able to immerse you in the environment. First of all, we're going to keep perspective mode on, and we also aren't going to reorient your view settings when you start a sketch or do other kinds of things that ordinarily reorient your view normal to a plane. We're just going to let you design in the environment. We find that those settings are the most ideal for immersion in the environment when you have one present. Next. Okay, continuing our theme of enhancements with lattice design, which we've been doing for the last couple of FDs. Now you can more easily incorporate lattice designs into your XDesign assembly or into a part with the ability to reference lattice entities in a sketch. So you can either convert entities or you can dimension or add constraints to lattice geometry from a sketch. So that's going to make it a lot easier to integrate lattice geometry into your designs. Next. Okay, we've also added a new common preferences dialog. We're using a new platform infrastructure for storing preferences, which is going to open the door for us to do more customization options in the future. For now, we've added a few new options from this common preferences dialog, which includes controlling of the automatic view navigation during sketching, default plane visibility, and the rebuild method. Those are now controllable through the preferences dialog. And we can go to the next one. Okay, we've also done an enhancement for insert and replace. Now, when you choose a component to be the component that's being inserted or be the component that's being swapped in a replace command, we'll give you a dialog which is familiar to the open from dialog. So you can easily select recent content or launch a specific search query. And this is just going to help you find the component that you're trying to insert into your design more quickly. Next one. Okay, we've done a few enhancements for managing external references. First of all, we've added better error messages to the design manager in the event of a broken reference. So you'll see that there's a badge icon. If you hover over that, it'll tell you if you have an out of context reference or a broken external reference, which basically was going to help you identify the problem and fix it more easily. So better error message handling for external references. And on to the next one. We've done also an enhancement for repairing lost references in sketches. So if your sketches lighten up and you have a lot of yellow broken sketch constraints, now we have a new dialog called Edit on Edge, which is going to allow you to easily see which of the references is lost. There's a caution icon next to the selection chip for the lost reference. So you can easily remove that and then replace it with a reference. So this is going to be helpful if you're making new iterations on a design and you've done some upstream changes, which causes a loss of references for whatever reason in your sketches. Now you can more easily repair those. We can go on to the next one. Okay. Also, if you have ever been in the situation where you open up an assembly and you know that it's error free in the design manager, but your design managers lighten up with error messages, it's probably because you just need to solve the assembly and solve for the mates. Now we give you a helpful warning message if that's the case, so you're not worried about other errors which weren't there before. So we'll give you a warning message, and then you just simply need to hit solve product from the warning message, and that should clear up your tree from all those error messages. We can go on to the next one. Okay, we've also done a number of performance enhancements for XDesign. And I think if you hit next, this should play a video, Mariana. First of all, we've improved the performance for exiting a sketch when you have very large sketches. So you can see the sheer number of constraints and dimensions on the sketch. Previously, it probably would have bogged down the system, but now you can see we're able to exit that sketch fairly quickly. And you can go on to the next one. Okay, another video here. So you can hit the next arrow. We've also done a performance project to enhance preview generation for assembly pattern and mirror. So this is an operation that happens on the client's machine. And we've done a number of things to generate that preview more quickly. We're no longer sending information to the compute server in order to generate the preview. It's all happening on the local machine. So we're eliminating data round trips and should have much swifter performance for generating these previews. We go on to the next one. Okay, command launching has also been improved across the board for all of the commands in XDesign. So we've improved a few key processes in our architecture, which should improve the performance when launching commands. And we can go to the next one. Okay, also body selection. As we know in XDesign and the other X apps, the only way to perform a body selection is through the graphics area to do graphical selection. So we've just made that more robust, and it should now be easier to select bodies through the graphics area, which is going to allow you to execute commands such as combine, pattern, mirror, thicken, split, move body, delete body, scale. All of those should be a lot faster now that you can select bodies more easily. And we can go on to the last one. And our last enhancement, which is a nice one for XDesign, is should help with data recovery. So we've added a new prompt from the system health dialog or the system status dialog. If the system detects that a crash may be imminent due to a number of reasons, either low browser memory, low server memory, or server-side operation that's taking longer than expected, the user will be prompted to save and restart the session. And basically, doing that full save as opposed to doing having an automatic restore point should protect your data even better. And then restarting the session is going to get you back up and running. So basically, preemptively saving and restarting in order to avoid a crash. And that is it, I believe, for XDesign. And I'll turn it over to Henna next for XShape.
Awesome, thanks. Hi, everyone. I'm excited to tell you about all the enhancements to 3D Sculptor coming in 24x FD01. They really focus on making the design experience within 3D Sculptor even better. We can go to the next slide, Mariana. Thanks. The new Insert Image dialog box ensures a simple file selection and experience that is consistent across the platform. So this is an improvement that we made just to make things consistent across different apps. On to the next one. This new functionality enhances your design experience with precise control over inserted pictures using snap points. So orient, size, and align your pictures with ease using this new feature. By adding snap points, you can align the images of the same object from different viewpoints, and it gives you greater control and accuracy in your designs. So going to the next one. In 3D Sculptor for this release, we will give you a more intuitive and faster design experience when modifying the subdivision mesh. With the modifier robot, you keep the focus on the model. When you select a mesh entity like a face or an edge, you simply push the A hotkey, or you can click on the modifier robot icon at the top of your screen to access an alternate list of commands that will modify the mesh instead of simply translating or rotating that mesh. You can do things like extrude a mesh face, subdivide the mesh, insert a loop, without having to go to the action bar and select them individually. This will give users a more interactive experience directly on the model. You should definitely take some time to experience the new modifier robot to see all the different things that you can do with it. On to the next feature. Thank you. The next feature I want to highlight is the ability to align to external geometry. A lot of times in our designs, we may be using external geometry to help orient us. You can now do things like make the subdivision mesh selection coincident, parallel, perpendicular, or collinear to an external geometry, like a plane or another subdivision surface, as shown in the video that I have for this slide. We can move on. So to quickly remove distractions when designing, so if there's a lot going on your screen and you only want to focus on the active subdivision, we have implemented a isolate subdivision tool. So when you click on this icon, it only shows the active subdivision surface. This will hide the non-active subdivision geometry. You can also quickly turn the isolate subdivision option off when you're working with external geometry, like what I've discussed, if we're wanting to align to a plane or align to a face. This is an exciting release, and this is what I wanted to share with you. I invite you to explore more of what's new in 3D Sculptor, and I'll turn the time over to Craig now. Thanks.
Thanks, Hannah. There's one thing I wanted to talk about for 3D Mold Creator. So all the enhancements that you see going into 3D Creator are also going into 3D Mold Creator. But there is one unique thing with lattice geometry. So the lattice geometry that's created in Lattice Designer, CATIA Lattice Designer, of course, can be referenced inside of 3D Creator and also inside of 3D Mold Creator. But also, if you create geometry that's in 3D Mold Creator, say, for instance, cooling passages or something like that, you can reference that for lattice geometry creation as well. So with the lattice geometry creation, you're able to create a special type of lattice called TPMS, or Tri-Periodic Minimal Surface geometry, which provides extremely good cooling capabilities in the model or in the mold. And what that results in is faster cycle times for injection molding. So this is something that's very specific. This very specific type of geometry is really going to be the future of how molds are cooled in the future. So it will be this type of geometry has to be 3D printed or metal 3D printed, actually, but it will be usually 3D printed and then machined afterwards. So that's the update for 3D Mold Creator. And on to, I'm not sure who's next, actually.
All right, thank you, Craig. And next up is Chris, who will talk about Manufacturing Definition Creator.
Thanks, Mariana. Thanks, Craig. So yeah, let's dive right into it for our definition enhancements in FD01. You can go right to the next slide. So yeah, we've added a few good enhancements for this release. If we go right to the next slide, there's actually one main enhancement. There's two in here. Okay, here we go. So the first enhancement, probably the biggest of the release, which was a long-awaited feature, very popular feature inside of SolidWorks. We've added a hole callout tool to our X-drawing application, and really this is super important. Anyone who's designed any sort of parts or assemblies knows that defining the holes correctly is really what's going to make or break your assembly and how it's actually going to fit together. So now with the hole callout feature, you do get a single, easy-to-use command that's going to be able to define any hole that was created with a hole feature in one of our authoring apps, and give you that compound hole callout for threads, counterbores, countersinks, and so on, with the correct depths and everything, all within a single command. And the annotation itself is fully customizable, so you get all the same ability to change the text or tolerance types, add attributes, and so on. So really great feature with a lot of effort that went into this. And I will say there's a lot of exciting things that we're working on to further improve this in the future. So definitely stay tuned as we move forward. You can go to the next slide. Okay, now continuing that theme that you've kind of heard throughout this presentation so far with lattice design. So now any type of part that contains lattice geometry can be brought into XDrawing, and you can accurately define the parameters for that lattice part. You can define dimensions, annotations, notes, everything to all the geometry surrounding the lattice. At this point, you can't dimension directly to the lattice geometry. And you might be thinking, why would I create a drawing for a lattice part if it's going to be 3D printed? Well, the drawing's typically your binding contract between you and the manufacturer. So now you can actually define that part, pass it off to the manufacturer, ensure that you have the proper documentation being handed off to have your part 3D printed, either plastic or in some sort of metal. But we can now define those parts inside of XDrawing. Okay. The next thing we've done is pretty much revamp and change our annotation font control. So now you'll see inside of the system and document options, you'll see basically each font type is broken down, and each font type now has its own individual font control. So you get the full flexibility and ability to fully customize the text per annotation type. This can be really useful if you want, your dimensions to stand out, or you want some specific tolerances to, be bold or have a different font to signify, a clear message to the manufacturer to make sure that it's not missed or overlooked when they're reviewing the drawing. Previously, you had one level of font control, so it was either, everything or nothing. And now you have that, additional control and flexibility to really customize your drawing. Going beyond that, you can also override each annotation type and break from the system option. So if you select any individual annotation, you'll see a new button in the context menu where you get the same level of settings, and they'll only be applied to that one individual annotation. Okay. So previously in 24x GA, we added 2D authoring, so you can create your drawing directly from the 2D environment. So you can add views, add dimensions, and so on. So we did some work here to improve the interaction of actually creating your drawing. Instead of having to explicitly activate views, you'll now see that all the commands are active as soon as you enter the 2D environment. And you can simply activate, the dimension command or note or so on, and select the geometry or the view or the sheet, and it will automatically activate the view and allow you to start dimensioning. So you don't need an explicit view activation before you have the available commands to actually define that view. What's nice as well is when you're in a view, if you simply go over to another view, select it, when you have the dimension command active, it'll automatically go and switch active views for you. So you can define it properly and just more streamlined, improved behavior when creating your drawings. Next slide. Building on that interaction of creating within the 2D environment, again, you don't need view activation to adjust your annotation placement. So, when you're organizing your drawing or placing annotations, typically the first drop is not going to be where you actually want it. You usually want to start positioning them around and making it look exactly as you like. Now you can just grab any dimension from any view and grab the manipulator and organize your annotations as you like without the extra clicks or mouse travel activating and deactivating views. Okay. So the next one is a small kind of UX project that just kind of improves the overall feel of the product. So on the 3D side of things, when you create a model-based view, we actually have improved the scaling. So when you first click the view, the default scaling now is going to be improved, making sure that it's covering the full screen, giving you the best visibility of the model when you're creating that view. And if anyone's ever used MBD before, that 3D annotations can typically become kind of a bird's nest pretty quickly, and it can kind of get in the way and distract you while you're trying to reorient your views. So when you're actually creating views now, we will hide all the annotations or the existing annotations you have. And then on the drawing side, we've also improved the scaling and we've improved our fit to screen function. So no matter what device you're on, the fit to screen will take into account the correct margins and view and resolution of your device and scale your model and drawing to accurately fit the screen size. And that is all for Manufacturing Definition Creator.
Thank you, Chris. And now we'll hear from a whole team, starting with Sal, about 3D Experience SolidWorks and collaborative design of a SolidWorks. Sal?
Thank you, Mariana. I'm very excited to update you on the what's new R2024 FD01 for 3D Experience SolidWorks and collaborative design for SolidWorks. One thing I would like to mention here that we are very excited, this specific release we started to include, in addition to the platform enhancement, it's also CAD enhancement, and that's going to be the trend moving forward. You will start seeing more CAD enhancement in the later release. Before I kick in, I would like to hand it over briefly to Vance. He will be talking about the exciting integration within SolidWorks for MCAD and ECAD collaboration. Vance?
Thank you, Salih. Hello. This slide is in regard to CircuitWorks, which is our translator for use between SolidWorks and any design software for printed circuit boards. CircuitWorks now supports the IDX standard, which means there is a big list of new supported data types and levels of control and collaboration. CircuitWorks is now connected to the platform in 3D Experience SolidWorks and SolidWorks with UES. This means you can exchange information with the PCB designer by way of the platform instead of exporting or emailing files. And we have also added the ability to store the part libraries on the platform. We have partnered with a company named Cadence that makes software for designing printed circuit boards. Their software, called OrCAD and Allegro, can now connect to the platform to more seamlessly share data with SolidWorks, CATIA, or similar users. Thank you, and back to you, Salih.
Thank you, Vance. Really excited about this integration. Next one. Okay, for 3D Experience SolidWorks, in FD01, you will be able to run and activate the SolidWorks simulation product. If you have SolidWorks simulation standard, professional, and premium, as well as SolidWorks Motion, you would be able to activate and use it. That's something that was not available in the past, and now you'd be able to leverage high-end simulation features. Next one. Okay, as we continue the integration on the 3D Experience platform, we improved the ability to basically update the local cache. So in the past, if you have basically data on the platform and you have your local cache, there is no way to know whether or not the information that you have in your local cache is up to date. Now, with this enhancement, you would be able to see in that option there is an option to basically refresh all from the server. So basically, if there is something changed, for example, if one of the components that you have on the local cache, someone actually on the platform created a new revision, locked it, or changed the maturity status. Once you refresh that option, then you would be able to see the new information. Then after that, you would be able to open it, replace it, whatever you want to do with it. That's a great enhancement. Yeah. Next one. Also, in addition to as you know, that in last year we introduced the concept of 3D Experience compatibility, where you actually map your configuration with the representation. In addition to that, we added a task in the task scheduler where you can basically take all your existing data and convert them from configuration to physical product and representation. So you can imagine if you have large data set and you would like to push them through the batch save, right? What you can do, you can take the entire data set that you have, a bulk of that data, and you can point it to that task, and you can run it through the task scheduler to update all of these files to be compatible on 3D Experience platform. Next one. And also on the start, when you start creating a configuration, you would be able to select and streamline the process, whether you would like to create physical product and representation, or you would like to create physical product that will have a unique part number. That's something that you can set up at the start, so you can choose which logic that you would like to start with. Next slide. Also, the ability to link PLM properties of the representation to the parent, which is the physical product. So, for example, if I have a physical product that is maturity state, let's say in work, you would be able to link that property to the representation. So when the PLM property for the physical product is changed, the representation will be able to link to that property. For example, in addition to maturity status, you can also link to the revision. So the revision changes also would be able to be linked to the physical product as well. Next slide. We continue to add more derived format, file format to this tool. So for example, you can create a new rules right now to include DWG and DXF. So you can, for example, if you have a drawing that is in the release state, you would be able to create a rule when the file is released, generate DWG and DXF. So this is also another great way to automate the creation of the DXF and DWG on the platform. Next slide. This is also this is one of the my favorite enhancement here is the ability to store the settings on the 3D Experience platform. So the admin would have the ability to control the SOLIDWORKS settings as well as the toolbox settings. So you can imagine that in your company you will have a specific setup on your toolbox. You would like to hide certain standard. You would be able to do that and save that settings, and the admin would be able to put that on the 3D Experience platform. So everyone in the same platform, they would be able to have the exact same settings to streamline and standardize how Toolbox works. Next slide. Another UI enhancement to the bookmark. If you have like certain bookmarks that you always use, you would be able to use that option to call recent bookmark. So you can quickly, upon saving to the 3D Experience platform, you can click on the recent bookmark selected, and that will basically store that data in your desired bookmark. Next slide. As for the change action, you would be able to control the position of where that change action is going to be in my session. So before it was only in one location, now you have the freedom to control where that change action is going to be in my session. And with that, I would like to hand it over to Priyanka. She will cover the rest of the enhancement for 3D Experience, SOLIDWORKS, and Collaborative Design for SOLIDWORKS.
Right. Hello, everyone. As Salih said, I would continue the rest of the enhancements further. So, okay. So first up we have is set revision on first save. So when you save new data on the platform, it starts with initial revision, as per said by the 3D Experience platform, which is A1. So this can be problematic if a customer's product is, or if a user's product is already at a different revision. So this mismatch of information kind of makes it difficult when moving to the platform. So with this enhancement now, it really helps our customers to set a target revision number while saving their data to the 3D Experience platform, and it happens on each file, solving this issue of mismatch. So basically, the design intent of the legacy and the new data is now preserved in a way. With this capability, to set the initial revision when the data is first saved to the platform, and this can be this feature is kind of accessible through interactive or batch save. All right, next one, please. So next up is the editing properties of an object from the side panel. So now with this, you can edit the properties of an object from the My Session side panel. So under my session, you have action bar, view, side display side panel, as you see in the image on the right. And if you go to properties, you can now see a pencil icon by which now you can edit the properties of the objects. So all in all, this would this capability in a way would help boost the efficiency of our users by streamlining this workflow. Which gives you capability to edit the properties right from the My Session side panel now. Next, please. Automatically fix broken references. Okay, so now with this one, if you open a platform file and say some of the files some of them have missing references on your machine. You could either select, you have now two options basically. You could either reload from server to download all the missing references from the platform, or suppress all the references to fix the missing references, say later on. But with what happens with this enhancement is it helps you fix the broken references to the files, in a way helping increase your productivity. Whereas if you remember from our previous releases, you had to individually find and kind of download all the missing references. But this enhancement in a way kind of helps you get to those, helps you fix those missing references. So this would be really, really helpful in my opinion. Right, next please. So this one is setting up the enterprise item number. This can be achieved by setting up a formula on the platform side under Collaborative Space Configuration Center. This will help you streamline the migration and capture the engineer's intent in a way by allowing to set the starting value of the counters in the engineering item number. So this will kind of reduce the risk of ending up with duplicate numbers that kind of collide with your, legacy data. Next, please. All right, so with this one, a welcome dialog now appears when the user connects to the 3D experience platform for the first time. Before, if you remember, like you have to kind of wait and kind of see when the platform is connected. But with this, you actually get notified that, you are now connected to so-and-so platform, so-and-so tenant. So this notification is displayed when the connection is established with the platform. All right, next please. All right, my favorite one. So sharing files. Now we have a very unified way of sharing a file. As a lot of you might remember, the various methods that we currently have, which is like share a file, publish to a community. Now all of these different options are kind of unified into one single share tool. You have a very consistent method now, and in a way this simplifies your process of sharing a file and collaborating externally with stakeholders. And to access this tool from the screenshot, if you might see, it's under File, Share. So it's a new, currently we don't have a share option, so now that's introduced in FD01. Right, the next please. Yeah, next up is managing deleted configurations. So if a structure has a physical products that are deleted locally, the save process is kind of blocked in a way, and an appropriate warning is displayed when you try to save this, and the message is displayed in the status column in the save dialog box. If you still continue to save a structure that contains deleted physical products, you are now prompted with two options in the screenshot. Probably you can see. One is check references, which takes you to relations app, and it opens in the My Session task pane where you can see where the references are. You can change the reference relationships and remove the dependencies if needed. And once that's fixed, then you can proceed to delete and then save. So the process does not let you save the deleted configurations anymore. Like you cannot just blindly save. It kind of gives you prompts to help you through the process of verify your references, check them before you actually want to save. Next, please. Selecting appropriate collab space. So this is a cool feature. I like it. So if multiple organizations say belong to a common collaborative space, the collab space list in the save to dialog box on the screenshot, if you see, or same applies to batch save to 3D experience dialog box, displays name of the collaborative space and also the name of the organization. So the save operation now is blocked if you have read access to the selected collaborative space. If there is an error message when you try to save something to that particular collab space, that means you that only indicates that you have write access. So this gives user a better control on the data and also helps you select the right collaborative space that has correct access before the save operation starts, ensuring that you are saving the data in the appropriate collaborative space. Right, next please. Right, next up is we have added some additional checks in the file preparation assistant tool. In addition to the previously existing, it now contains two additional options. One is to check for out-of-date configuration data, and one is to look for incompatible files. So the software also silently performs two other checks, which looks for file names and number of configurations. So these more checks in a way help you improve the success of saving your files to the 3D Experience platform. Next, please. Yes. Next up is with this you get easy access to the 3D Experience SolidWorks tutorials. With this, you can access the interactive tutorials directly in the app to help you learn SolidWorks with the cloud. Now, in the previous releases, you had to use a browser to access these tutorials. And with this improvement now in FD01, you can access these tutorials right within the welcome dialog box. Under Learn, you have step-by-step tutorials. Or another way to access this could be in the app. Just click on Help and Tutorials. All right, so with that, I will wrap up my section here and hand it over to Craig to cover the rest of the SolidWorks CAD enhancements. Thanks, guys.
Great. Thanks, Priyanka. As Salih said earlier, you're really going to start seeing a lot more CAD enhancements being added to our FDs as we go on. So versus just platform enhancements. So let's start with this one. So for weldments, cut list properties, so when you have a cut list item, you want to copy the properties from one to another, you can now copy those properties to one cut list item or to all of them in the weldment. Next. Next, yep. This one for people that are using coordinate systems, maybe for assembling very large assemblies, you're able to now get measurements on pitch, yaw, and roll measurements. So coming in as theta, psi, and phi. Next. Next slide. When you import 3MF files, some of them might contain lattice geometry. Now, when you import that, you're able to get, oh, I'm sorry, wrong one. This is graphics triangle face count. When you do evaluation now, when you want to evaluate your product, do a performance evaluation, you're able to go into your model and actually see the number of faces and also the number of triangles that are in your model. And why is that important? Because that's going to affect performance, right? So you want to kind of like threads on a screw or a bolt. You don't want to show that stuff if you can help it, especially if that's in a larger assembly. So now you're able to see what the effect, how many faces and how many triangular graphics sections you have. Next. For people that do mold design, especially, you're able to go in and now measure what the projected area of a part is. And the reason for that is projected area will help you to calculate what the clamping force that's required for a mold, the force to hold the upper and lower part of the mold together. Next. When you're doing using convert entities, when you're in sketching, you now have a convenient option to convert an edge that you converted into construction geometry. Next. This is the one I was talking about. When you bring in a 3MF file, typically if you're bringing in some kind of lattice, it's going to come in as mesh, all right? And that's very heavy. So now what we do when we bring in the 3MF file, we're able to read the structure of the mesh and create a lightweight graphic that shows basically just the where the framework would be. Now, included in the file is also information on how to create the actual mesh itself. So the beautiful thing about this is that if you're putting this part right here into a large assembly, you can just display the mesh, that screen section. You can display that as just graphics, which is very lightweight. But if you wanted to do some kind of analysis or something like that on it, you could bring the mesh back, which makes the part heavier. But you may need it, and you can just say create the mesh based on the rules that are contained in that 3MF file. By the way, this also works for exporting to 3MF. Next. So breadcrumbs are now available in LDR, which just makes it easier when you're selecting, what level of the hierarchy of the model that you're selecting at. Next. When you're looking at an assembly and you have folders, when you look down at the folders, you'll be able to tell very quickly whether you have components that are underdefined, fixed, or overdefined in those folders. Next. When you want to open a part in SOLIDWORKS Connected, you're now able to just double click like you can in desktop, and it will open up the part. Next. So that wraps it up kind of for the CAD portion. I'm going to have Henna come in and actually talk about the information that we have now for Visualize. Henna?
Yeah, thanks, Greg. So recently we have focused on improving your experience to ensure visual consistency across 3D viewers. As we have discussed in previous releases, DSPBR materials have helped along that path, especially across our products, including the GLTF and the GLB file format exports is also part of this effort at a larger scale. In 2024x FD01, we have improved our GLTF and GLB exports by including additional DSPBR material parameters and textures as part of the export. Some of these parameters and textures are albedo, metallic, roughness, and alpha. And these improvements will help ensure our models are consistent across GLTF or GLB viewers. And I think this wraps up the SOLIDWORKS desktop portion of our presentation.
Thank you, Henna. Next up, we are going to hear from Diego about 3D Experience Draft Site.
Yes, hello everyone. So I'm excited to introduce this.
Diego, we are having trouble hearing you. Can you try again?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Much better, thank you.
Okay, sorry about that. Well, hello everyone. Hope you can hear me clearly now. So I'm excited to introduce this enhancement for what's new 2024 for FD01. This enhancement is for draft site on the 3D platform. The enhancement will be available for draft site professional, premium, and mechanical. The tool will give the ability to centralize templates on the platform, and it will be available for all the 3 roles previously mentioned. The enhancement creates the ability to save 2D drawings as templates and allows the capability to share them across the collaborative team on the platform. So you can make edits to existing templates or new templates, rev up, and change or modify the lifecycle status as well. So this enhancement will give users the ability to increase productivity, save them time while creating drawings, and just make it easier to share templates within the platform as well. So that's all I have for this new enhancement for draft site. So I will end here and pass it along to my counterpart, Eric, who will be introducing Electrical Schematic Designer. Thank you, everyone.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Diego, for the introduction. As noted, I'll be giving you guys an update on Electrical Schematic Designer, and just a quick point that Electrical Schematic Designer is our connected version of SOLIDWORKS Electrical Schematic Professional. Okay, in this release, FD01, we have a number of delighters and productivity enhancements that I'm going to take you through here. Next slide, please. The default behavior of the tool is that when you save an electrical project, it saves the zoomed in status. If you've zoomed into a particular component or area of a schematic, it saves the project in that particular view state. Now, new in this FD01 release is the option to enable the design to reopen in a full zoomed out or zoomed to fit configuration. This can be particularly helpful when users get to hundreds of schematic sheets, for example, and people open and switch back and forth between sheets as they reacquaint, for example, and study a design created by someone else. So a productivity improvement that can be used every day. Next, please. Now, part of the design process is the creation of the schematic. And in order to do that, you need content. So our electrical content portal is a commonly used source of electrical content. Now, as a user goes in and starts to search for particular components, it's common to run into content that can be very interesting for the next phase or a coming phase of the project. New in FD01 is the ability for the user to grab the link to various content as they browse through, and then to be able to share that using a 3D experience community, 3D experience conversation, email, whatever the communication tool is to be in touch with your team. An efficient way to enable people to quickly find interesting content for the next phase of the design. Next, please. And then lastly, today, we want to focus on the next, as we progress through the typical design flow. This enhancement is the ability for the user to be able to basically zoom to the particular area of interest related to cables and wires. So, for example, when studying a design, if you find a particular wire that you want to interrogate further or see where it's used, you can actually select zoom to the browse to the design tree on the left side, or you can actually browse the particular point in a schematic where that wire or cable is used. So number one, a great way to be able to quickly follow and trace a design created by someone else and plan the next level of design revisions, for example. And once those design intent or those design changes are in mind, new enhancements enable the swapping of cable cores, wires within a connector more efficiently than in the past. So overall, a small series of enhancements that should delight the user of Electrical Schematic Designer, and the next steps in our enhancement process that will continue on with each FD. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. And next, we will hear from Michael, who will wrap up the presentation with 3D Motion Creator. Michael?
Yep, do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, great.
And we can see you too.
Perfect. Thanks, Mariana. All right, so we'll be ending this webinar with the 3D Motion Creator role, so updates. Again, just a quick reminder, this role became a similar role releases back. Okay, so however, it delivers a SolidWorks X Motion Design app. Again, as a reminder, 3D Motion Creator helps you validate the kinematics and dynamics of your complex mechanism assemblies, all in a browser-based design solution. Now let's talk about the updates. So in this release, we have obviously enhanced some of the existing features, but we also delivered some cool new ones. So let's get to the details. Next, next, please. All right, so this one is very important. We introduced assembly of mechanism through the sub-mechanism command in R2024x GA. Okay. As a reminder, This capability enables users to reuse the existing mechanisms from wherever they are in the product structure. Most of the time, they are located in some assemblies. So thanks to this, you can quickly set up and analyze complex system models through hierarchical motion models by using the submechanism command. Just to add on that, before R2024x FD01, your product structure had to be flat. Now you can somewhere have a nested product structure, and it will work very well. In this release, in FD01, we simply streamline the workflow with adding some level of automation, to enhance the user experience and reduce the model setup time to select any subassembly and include them as a submechanism automatically, I would say, by considering all the joints that belongs to these assemblies. All right, so next, please. Oh, this one is a great one. You're gonna like it. So now we give the possibility to our users, thanks to this new feature, to expand, I would say, what if scenarios, and so they can quickly experiment different options by defining formulas on the motion elements attributes. How? So by simply enabling the creation of knowledge parameters under mechanisms. So yes, now we give the users the capability to create parameters based on motion elements attributes and use formulas to control those parameters from the mechanism. Next, please. We are introducing a minimum distance probe. As your simulation runs now, and after setting up the minimum, this new minimum and distance probe, you can dynamically, so from the 3D view, assess the minimum distance between two groups of bodies that you define in this new feature. Can you play, please, the video, Mariana? Quickly. So this video well illustrates the creation of a minimum distance probe. Gives the example, of a minimum distance showing up dynamically after the creation in the 3D view. The minimum distance was created between here, the extruder and the printer bed. And while previewing the simulation, you can see dynamically the distance, decreasing here in that case, but you get immediate, I would say, feedback while running the simulation, which is pretty cool and, of course, very valuable to our users. Next up, please. Thanks. So this is a not new feature. Okay, interference probe has been introduced in the past releases. However, up to now, the interferences could be only seen through 2D plots. Now users can get 3D visual feedback and can see, if you play the video, please, you can see dynamically, while running also the simulation, the clashes between components that have been defined in that probe. Oh, can you click? Maybe can you? Oh, okay, sorry. As you can see, we also added the mesh density to control the mesh, quality. And of course, as the bodies that have been set up and defined in the probe clashes, you get visual 3D highlights in the 3D view here between the extruder and the printer bed. All right, next, please. This will be the two last enhancements on swept volume and geometric trace, which is pretty similar. You'll see on the next slide. We added a new field in the definition of swept volume and geometric trace to give the possibility to our users to select, define whether they want their output results, output geometry, to be located. So it generates the geometry for the swell volume, it's a volume, of course, a surface that is generated. Until GA of 24x, you had no choice. It had to be stored, I would say, in the default 3D shape. Now, in FD01, you can decide where it has to be. So for further reuse, it's very, very useful. Can you go to the next, please? Yeah, so same for geometric trace. Now we give the possibility to select the target product. And so, you know, it can be output, I would say, can be stored in a defined upfront physical product. And that wraps up the 3D Motion Creator role updates, as well as the session, I think, for today. If you have questions, I think Mariana is going to open.
Yes, thank you, Michael. Yes, this just like you said, this concludes the presentation, and we're opening the floor for questions. We are up against the hour due to our session being so information-packed today. So apologies for keeping you a little bit after the hour. We will just answer a couple of questions. In the meantime, the team has been answering questions, so you probably have received, and we'll take a look now to see what hasn't been answered yet. So we have a question from Eric. Hi, Eric. May I ask for clarification about simulation in 3D Experience SolidWorks? This update means that someone can use their existing desktop simulation licenses with their 3D Experience 3D Experience SolidWorks licenses. It does not mean that simulation tools are bundled with 3D Experience SolidWorks. Is that correct? And I think Craig...
I can take that one, Mariana.
So, yeah. Okay, Sal, go ahead.
Eric, thank you for the question. Exactly, that's the way it works. We're not bundling anything with the 3D Experience SolidWorks roles. These are basically using your existing SolidWorks desktop license, simulation license, with 3D Experience SolidWorks Standard, Professional, and Premium. I actually created a post on the partner home to explain how this works. But briefly, the way it works right now, when you have 3D Experience SolidWorks product, when you upgrade or install and to 2024 FD01, there is an executable that will be, downloaded, that you need to basically, after you install 3D Experience SolidWorks, you can run that executable as a standalone application, put the serial number, whether it's standalone or SNL. Once you do that, you would be able to go to that executable, run it, activate it. Then next time when you start SolidWorks, you would be able to use your whatever license that you activated, simulation, professional, standard, and a premium. So this is just for FD01. We have that executable. In the future, we're trying to improve the workflow rather than doing this on two separate steps. We'll try to make the installer to have the ability to basically put the serial number when you prepare the install, so you don't need to do that extra step after you install 3D Experience SolidWorks. Hopefully we get rid of that extra executable that we have in FD01, but that's just for temporary solution for now.
Okay, thank you, Sal. There was a quick question from Andre about SolidWorks, if it supports Altium Designer. Vance, if you could also answer it live for the benefit of the audience.
Certainly. So yes, SolidWorks is CAD agnostic. And what I mean by that is it will work with any PCB design software. Today I was really presenting that it supports the newest standard, which is IDX, which supports the most data types. Altium uses a slightly older standard called IDF. We support that and everything back to the earliest of the standards.
Okay, thank you, Vance. Another question from Eric. Can you clarify about lattices? Is it correct that CATIA Lattice Designer is required to create a lattice feature, but an existing lattice feature in an XApp model can be modified, edited by someone without access to the Lattice Designer role? Chris, if you could please provide an answer live as well.
Yeah, sure. So the CATIA Lattice Designer role is required to initially generate the lattice or change the actual structure. So going from like a honeycomb to a square structure and so on. So changing the actual lattice itself. On the X design side, you can do a simple solve and the lattice geometry will show inside of X design. And then you can also modify the size and modify like the pocket size that the lattice is filling to an extent. If you obviously change the dimensions too much, it's going to break the lattice and you're going to have to go back to Lattice Designer to regenerate it. But any sort of minor size modifications or changing the size of the pocket slightly, and you can do that inside of X design, solve, and update the lattice size without returning or requiring the Lattice Designer license. The only catch is that Lattice Designer does have to exist on your tenant somewhere for this to work, but the designer making the modification in X design does not need the Lattice Designer license.
Thank you, Chris. And the last question we'll take today is from Anup about multicad UPS. Does bidirectional attribute mapping for existing inventor properties is supported in the latest release? Priyanka, would you like
Yeah, sure.
to address?
So the answer is yes. What are you trying to do? Like, if there's any specific use case that you're trying to achieve, we can talk separately, but simple and short answer is yes, it does support bidirectional mapping of the inventor properties.
Okay. So for follow-up, or if you had additional questions, feel free to email me, Mariana .st.germain, GERMAIN, @3ds.com, and I'll be happy to coordinate answers. And with that, we are concluding our webinar. Thank you to our speakers, and thank you to everyone who participated in today's What's New webinar. We hope this webinar was informative, and we wish you a great rest of day or evening, and we'll see you soon again. Bye-bye.